So part of me would like, again, back to the rat race point. It's nice when you only think about the rat race in the abstract, right? But it's only part of you that can. It's only a part of you that can feel it nonetheless. And so it's better to keep it the rat race digital versus in person. But they're so easy to have a track record of the what ifs, right? Again, like the what ifs are everything, right? What if you asked that girl out? Or more importantly, what if you bought AppLovin at 10 times trailing EBITDA? 10 times trailing EBITDA that would be impaired because of IDFA and impaired because of the broader, right, the cyclical, right, spending decline, right, from corporates. It's like, so, like, but I don't know, calculating a normalized EBIT ratio is too much for me. And that is why I reminisce about such opportunities instead of being retired. And so the first thought was, man, have a nice little pot of 10 million, right? I think that's a very reasonable amount to exist off of. And if you've got 10 million, right, at that point you generally do have pretty much all options in life available to you, as long as you have reasonable taste and you don't have insane lifestyle creep. Also, it was funny being back in Pennsylvania. All the flags were at half staff. It's not like I was visiting like the rural parts of PA. Like it was one of the Philly suburbs. Not one of like the very nice ones, but it's still, you know, in that cluster. Right. I don't know. But back to this point where like 10 million, like, right, that's a good amount. It's like if 10 million is the goal, then it's right. Or like if being able to do what I want and have my own calendar, like if that's something I enjoy a lot, I think that's when I was happiest, right? Like, I think that's the best part of college, is having control of your calendar. Okay, so we will walk to DuPont because I have 15 minutes to get to my 1 hour mark. So we shall press on. And now I'm getting into the flow of talking about this, right? But it is fun to think about, right, what makes you happiest. And if you know what makes you the happiest, then you should try to optimize for that. I generally think that when I was the happiest, it would have, periods of my life when I had control of my calendar, which means I need to be an adult because I need that autonomy. Secondly, I need, to not have a greater prerogative that restricts me, which of course is namely, which is AKA called employment, right? So in some sense, like, you need to be retired, or at least in a gig role or something like that. So that's one so that's a precondition. I assume like the absence of a professional endeavor is having a fulfilling professional endeavor, right? Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Infinite zero is still zero, something like that, right? So that checks off that half the box of Janak Ganesh's framework. And I think the other part, a period of my life when I was very happy was, again, limited sample size, but I think it is nice to be in a relationship where the girl enjoys being around you and you enjoy being around her, and the nice little small moments that can happen, right? It's like, so it is fun. It's like the discontinuities in what I prioritize, right? Like, I should be willing to take big swings or take bigger swings, or spend more time identifying asymmetric opportunities. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, whatever part is, I should be optimizing much more for going on dates and that side, which you know I very much am not, or not in a tangible way, which will actually have marginally better odds of success, or of but again, it's like cometh the hour, cometh the man. Pride comes before the fall. Like I have too much arrogance or to truly realize the desperate nature of my situation as a 23-year-old. Although I've got ideas. We'll see. It's probably a decent pickup line somewhere. I came up with this myself. Maybe sign of how bad or good it is, but it's like, are you in the National Guard because you occupied my heart? It's like, I don't know. Of course, right? The secret to everything, right, is just be better looking, right? Kind of like not like in a mopey way, but I do think in a okay. Right, so if you go down that way, right, that takes you down to Kalorama. So that's, oh, this is quite the triangle, right? Adams Morgan's grunginess over yonder, right? So yeah, I do suppose, right, there's more variety to DC's, at least like the street grid, to most of New York City, which is a grid. So maybe urban planner David appreciates DC for that reason. However, I'm not in that career field, so therefore, and then there's probably something funny about being perpetually miserable, in air quotes, right? Because miserable, it's not like true misery, but it's more like passive melancholy. Part of me would find that very entertaining as a perpetual state of existence. Like, oh my gosh, it's like that great lyric by the Smiths: two lovers entwined pass me by, and heaven knows I'm miserable now. Just such a good line, and like very perfectly captures my feelings. And like New York City, dude, would be chock full of that in a way I don't associate with DC. But, like perpetually, like take like a slap yourself in the face every time. I'd be like, okay, we can do that. We could feel melancholic all the time, right? So like imagine being me, right? And that's like my bit, or what I, right? It's like, right, I guess like you walking by yourself becomes obvious when you're next to somebody who's walking with someone holding hands. Like if that part becomes super obvious. So imagine that. And so you try to retreat from the real world. You open your phone, and then bam, it's that girl from like 2 years ago who you had a crush on, and like, you know, living her best life, looking very dashing. That's like, well, fuck. You know, and the best part is, right, you know that there's some guy out there who faces zilch none of these issues, right? Because guys just so blessed in life, right? To be who like have all the boxes checked. That's like, by definition, there can only be so many of that guy. Just given numbers, right? Because if everybody's blessed, then right, you won't have the absolute advantage or relative advantage. But concept is like, is that guy who has it all, is he more likely to live in DC or New York City, right? Is the apex guy who would make you feel the most miserable in DC or New York City? I was like, well, I tend to think he would find his way to New York City, because that's the Mecca. And if that type of guy is over there, then it's probably best to avoid and be in a smaller fishing pool and avoid that the true rat race. There's a professional rat race, which I complain about, where I'm happy to avoid. And then there's probably the more impactful rat race, right? Which is just everything else in life. But what you gonna do? But yeah, but the funny part is, right, like, it's like David Foster Wallace says, "What is water?" Right? Like that apex guy who like checks all the boxes and is drowning and all that stuff. Right? Like if you're always in water, you don't know what it's like not to be in water, or you don't notice it, and like you literally can't imagine the existence for other less fortunate folks. Or it's the same way that, right? It's like you're just like how, like, you know, guys and girls have different experiences, obviously, and which is very obvious when you talk about certain areas of dating discourse. That's a nice Eastern European style thing right there. But yeah, but dude, that would well, since I spoke about it, I'd clearly be aware of it, but that would be so miserable. And the worst part is, like, that is actually a very feasible example situation, because literally you walk around New York City for like 30 minutes, like maybe not like Midtown, but you walk to any of like the more residential areas, and like you will see like you will see lovers entwine. So that's instantly that. And then you have free will, you can check your phone, and then bam, you hit the other part. That would generally be a daily occurrence. And then you toss in something bad happening at work, like a please fix revision, and that being your existence for 5 days a week, or more 7, because again, it's a common occurrence. That'd be truly miserable. Although at a certain point, it would be very. Although I suppose if you're aware of if you know what's gonna go wrong and you anticipate it, it's probably not as dreary as one would hope at that point. But what can you do? Best you can do is just jaywalk and use free will that way. Right. Yeah, what a nice cluster of DC, right? From Woodley Park, right? You've got the little Woodley Park where all the billionaire bros are. So Adams Morgan, which is slightly grungy, right? But still clearly, like, there are things you'd want to do. Down to Calorama, down to DuPont, right? Like that apex guy. He's probably a Calorama. No, I actually take that back. He's probably an Adams Morgan man. Or maybe he's although if he's a Georgetown guy, then can't beat that on top of things. So Man, that that was fun to complain about. That was pretty fun. Again, like that scenario, like I don't know. I think a lot of things amuse me. I certainly think that scenarios like that, like the small things that make you not miserable, but they make you feel a pinch of disappointment. I think those are incredible. And frankly, very like, just like you need to take on risk to have a higher expected return, right? You need emotional lows to maybe not feel the highs, because I guess the highs require some degree of good things, but it makes it easier to appreciate the average nothingness of of an emotional flow state. And we'll take that. We will be there, and we will take that. Man. Yeah. And that was a great bit. That is generally a good bit. But probably a more limited audience. Than I would like to admit. But again, 9% sure that's, or certainly the Instagram part and the crush, like that has got to be like a 99% universal thing. And then I just suppose the reaction to the other part is probably more variance, but you get the idea. Yeah, it'd be so much more magnified down in, or up in New York, right? I think on this, right, this 1 hour, right, didn't pass any couples. Oh, I guess we did, but I'm. I just suppose once you age out of a range, it doesn't affect me as much. But oh man, that was a good bit. Or at least that's a bit I think about in my day to day, which makes things more interesting for me. And now, future me, I don't know if future me will still feel this way. I suppose it is a bit embarrassing to admit, like at least like I don't know. It makes me notice things, makes me feel more conscious. It's probably a good thing, right? To be more aware and locked in. So. Can't say no to that. Farmer's market Sunday. Pretentious. Get out to walk. We will see. Not sure what happened there. I messed up the camera somehow. It's now doing a wonderful angle. I think it's doing a back shot, but nevertheless. Yeah, actually, this camera angle is actually that's pretty interesting. So I'll keep running. But yeah, so that was fun, right? So we walked from Woodley Park, right, which is a nice nexus point, to Adams Morgan, to Meridian Hill Park, to Kellerema Park, down to DuPont. So can't hurt too much. There we go. Yeah.